this lesson is just kind of my interpretation of the song. Like a lot of Muse songs that were recorded on their albums, like the live versions are always different and they've changed a lot over the years. So this was one of the first songs I tried to learn probably 10 years ago. Matt Bellamy would have been like probably my first guitar hero. It's got a cool little position play lick that'll work in your alternate picking. There's some hammer-ons and pull-offs, and then it's got some big bar chords in it as well. So instead of me breaking down every little bit and like the main riff or the lick, if you want to call it that, I'm going to give you a slow clip here with tabs. But to give you some help with what I mean by position play, this is effectively a little scale exercise in a way. So you're starting on fret 8 of your 4th string. You're going to need a 9 at times as well, so use your little finger. You'll sometimes need a 6 and a 7, so use your 1st and 2nd finger. So you basically get 1 finger per fret in there. So I would really encourage you to use each finger at each relevant fret there. So 1 takes care of 6, and the little finger takes care of 9. You've got the ones in the middle. So try and do it that way. Try and get your alternate picking going as well. Always the fiddliest bit in that riff was the little arpeggio bit, and I actually used to kind of sweep it, but that's not really how it's played. So you've got this kind of chord shape, and that's like a D major with an F sharp in the bass. So it's a nice chord, that. And what happens is you kind of just take care of all those settings with your 1st finger. And I just add that 3rd finger just as I'm at the bottom of the arpeggio. And then you're into that half step bend on the 9th fret of the B string. So I always find that the trickiest wee bit of that main riff, so just take your time with this. Now the verses in the song, there's not a lot of obvious guitar, so on the recorded version it might be a piano or a keyboard instrument that's doing the little triad arpeggios that you hear. Now live they're played on a guitar, and I'll show you a few ways you can do that. So the way I would have demonstrated is, I don't think the way Matt Bellamy plays it, I play it down here. They're the same chords, I just prefer a different position to play them. So you've got like a little D triad being outlined, and that comes from a D major chord. And I'm just going to say, do whatever picking pattern you want on it. You know, whatever you want to do. Then the next chord is this guy here. Okay, that's an F sharp. So does that look like a D chord to you? Same form. So that little shape there is called a triad. So your D chord's called D because that little shape revolves around where the 3rd finger is, a D note. In this case, if you know the notes in your B string, when you plug in that shape there, that's an F sharp triad now. So it went from D to F sharp, and then there's also a G in there, same little triad shape. So I'll put that together for you. you know, you do the picking that you want. You can just copy what I'm doing there. By the way, it goes back to the D at the end. And that's just my interpretation of it, because I like to play those triads there. I find it easier to visualize. But what it looks like in the song is he's playing them up here. So you've got this little staircase shape that might look like a kind of a little F bar chord. So you're getting your chord name from where your third finger is again. That would be an F. Now this turns into a D triad. Then you go to the F sharp again. And that comes from a 5th string major bar chord, this one here. And then you go for a G, same shape. So these are cool little theory things to learn, because, you know, I love the sound of arpeggios, whether it's just picking through chords or crazy sweep picking or whatever. And there's loads of that in Muse's music, on the guitar and on the keyboards and all the programming that they do. So, you know, you should learn these as you go, as you're learning these songs. Then it kicks into the big bar chord section. So when I look at Muse videos across the years, sometimes they look like full bar chords, sometimes they look like kind of partial ones. I'll just show you the way I played it. So that's an F sharp bar chord there, fret 2. You just kind of do some chugging on it and open it up. I never hit the high E string in that one. Then this is a G, but I just don't do the barring. Just hit the middle 4 strings on the guitar. B minor, but I don't hit the high E string. F sharp again, but I don't do the bar. Just middle 4 strings. And just to finish it off, then you can do an A power chord, a 3-string one from your 5th fret of the low E. And then go into a D major from fret 5 of the 5th string. And I do see a lot of tabs just have it as a D chord with an A in the bass down here. That sounds cool too. The only thing you might consider there is there's a big shift to do, which, you know, by all means is good to practice. I just made it easier for myself. I put the D chord there so that I can then go into the main riff. So one other bit in the song to do is the big epic bridge. where the main riff keeps going, but you've got some big epic chords underneath. And it's funny, I remember when I was listening to this in the early 2000s and then learning it about 10 years later, which is 10 years before now really, that sometimes the neighbour would bang on the wall because I was listening to the song a bit loud and playing along with it. So I do remember that. So what you can do is F sharp, do a power chord if you want. I prefer the big major chord. Then you've got a G major chord, or a power chord if you want, and then a D. And that's the chords in the bridge. So I'll show you how I do it. These are new strings, so those bar chords are rather tough at the minute. So what I like to do is just embellish these major bar chords by putting a little note with the pinky here and there. So on the F sharp, I just add that note sometimes, the 12th fret of the B string. However you want. Then do the same on the G, but the relevant note would be fret 14. And then on the D, the relevant note would be that 8th fret of the B string.